Got some wording here. Forbes actually covered this quite well, and I want to throw that up there. Forbes says the DOJ's new guidance document explicitly warns against audits in which election officials are forced to turn over materials like ballots or voting machines to state lawmakers or third parties. Think about that for a second. To state lawmakers or third parties, as in Arizona, whose audit is being run by the private company Cyber Ninjas. The Forbes piece goes on to say, violating federal law by turning over election materials could be punishable through fines of up to $1,000 or a prison sentence of up to 1 year. So I was looking around today, seeing what's happening out there. An interesting story caught my eye. Turns out Biden's DOJ has informed the rest of the states, all 50 states, including Arizona, that essentially if they attempt to engage in a Maricopa-style audit, an Arizona-style election audit, they may be in danger of breaking the law and, in fact, could be subjecting themselves to fines or actual imprisonment. Now, this really caught my eye, guys, because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about accountability. I'm thinking about how badly we need accountability in government just in general. I'm thinking about the lack of confidence in American elections right now. And now Biden's DOJ has come out and said, listen, essentially what the directive said was if you're an election supervisor, you're an election official, you let somebody else get control of the voting apparatus or the voting records, that you could be looking at jail time. You could be looking at a fine. We've got some wording here. Forbes actually covered this quite well, and I want to throw that up there. Forbes says the DOJ's new guidance document explicitly warns against audits in which election officials are forced to turn over materials like ballots or voting machines to state lawmakers or third parties. Think about that for a second. To state lawmakers or third parties, as in Arizona, whose audit is being run by the private company Cyber Ninjas. The Forbes piece goes on to say, violating federal law by turning over election materials could be punishable through fines of up to $1,000 or a prison sentence of up to 1 year. So, guys, I looked at this and I thought, good Lord, what they're trying to do, what Biden's DOJ is trying to do is criminalize any attempt to get outside confirmation that the election was legitimate. Am I reading that wrong, Olivia?
No, that's exactly what it is. And in every investigation, what you do is you have an outside source come in and investigate it. And we need to have transparency in our elections. And so this is really important that we don't have, like Biden's DOJ, doing things like this. This is taking away from the accountability that we need in our elections. And the American people deserve fair elections, and this is just another step backwards.
I agree with that. It's unimaginable to me that you would say you don't want outsiders coming in. Grant, I can think of a circumstance or two where you wouldn't want outsiders coming in. What are those? What would that look like? If you're sitting there and you're saying, I really don't want outsiders looking at the work I just did, what would you make of that?
Well, I would say a circumstance where I wouldn't want outsiders coming in would probably be at the ballot box where people are voting, which is where we are seeing outsiders coming in a lot of times. I mean, we've seen people who are either voting in the wrong county. We've seen people whose votes have been just should have been discounted for one reason or another, and they're not being discounted. And these audits, the goal is not, we've said this in every piece that we've put out. We continually get fact checked every time we put out election stuff. We've been very clear that the goal of these audits is not to say Donald Trump won the election. The goal of these audits is to say we want to have transparency. As you said, Olivia, we want to have confidence in our elections. We want to be able to say we feel confident that the results that we see on Fox News or on CNN or whatever on election night are actually the results that happened, and that the people who are elected were fairly elected, and that we feel like our votes counted and that they were fair and that they're not being watered down by other votes. And we continually see Democrats come up with more reasons like this to to try to discount these audits, which I don't understand. Everyone says this. I don't understand why it's a partisan issue. I really don't. Like,
it shouldn't be.
If you actually think that you won the election, the Democrats, why would you not want to show that it was done fairly, it was done correctly, and you won the election? Well,